subject. The only thing you're doing it is replacing the object that is receiving the verb in the sentence. And the way you can find that object is just looking at the subject, or not the subject, but the action. The word that comes after the verb in the sentence.
The object.
Yes. And you're gonna replace it with either mete, and then for lo or la, that's lo is for masculine and la is for feminine. And then the plural. And these are the four that you would probably use the most. Very rarely do you use these three.
Why do we use the bottom ones the most?
Because usually the objects are either masculine or feminine. You're not usually receiving a person or groups of people.
Right, so I'm not usually receiving the action, you're not usually receiving the action, we are not usually receiving the actions. Normally one thing, masculine or feminine, or things, plural, there. Now, again, just to emphasize what she said in the beginning, has nothing to do with your subject. Nothing to do with it. Okay, go ahead and show me your example there.
So in this sentence, nosotros miramos las noticias, whatever. This is what is receiving miramos, and it doesn't have to agree with nosotros at all. So all you would do is replace it and put it actually in front of the verb whenever you are, whenever you're replacing it with a DOP. So it would be nosotros las, since this word is feminine and it's plural, in front of the verb. And you just leave the verb. If it's already conjugated, you need to just leave it conjugated, and if it's not, you need to conjugate it.
And you need to make sure that if it's not, because if you remember the way that we did it on our test is we had to look at. So you had to figure out to look at, to agree with your subject first, conjugate it, and so these two always go together.
You don't have to have that nosotros there.
Exactly, and you don't have to have it because why? This already tells you that it's a nosotros form. So this means we look at the news. This means what? We look at them referring to the news plural there. Okay.
And if there are two verbs, like one after the other, like vas, and mirar, then you would put the DOP at the end of the second verb. So you're looking at the object that's receiving the verb, which is the television, and that's a feminine singular, so you would replace it with la. And so you would do tu vas a mirar la. And if there's a reflexive, because reflexives have pronouns that go along with it as well, like me, te, se, no se. Thank you. And you would put your DOP in between the reflexive pronoun and the verb. So if it was like you are washing the mirror or something, then you would put me, your DOP for mirror, and then whatever the reflexive verb is.
Okay, so the reflexive pronoun first, then the direct object pronoun. So you're basically splitting. Normally here when you have the DOP and the verb right next to each other, it'll stay that way, but if you have a reflexive, it'll come before, as opposed to being right next to the verb, it'll come before everything. So your example was, they're washing the mirror.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So washing is reflexive. If it's they, would be se, lo, lavan. They're washing it, referring to the mirror. And again, the whole point of direct object pronouns is to restate something that's already been said. So you're just rewriting it with a direct object pronoun. Or when you're answering questions, instead of saying, I think one of our examples was, did you study the direct object pronouns for the quiz? You say, yes, I studied them. Then referring to the direct object pronoun. So you can use it with questions, or you can use it to rewrite it with DOPs. Questions so far?
Okay. And this is our practice, and you're not gonna pop up.
Give it a second to focus. Or else you move back out, and then we'll make it focus. It's working. Why is it? It's like, why is it in pencil? I thought Miss Mayo told you not to do it in pencil. I don't do that. Just kidding. You're okay.
Okay. so we're just gonna do this out loud. What would your direct object pronoun be for the first one? Those.
And careful that here they babied it for you, which is fine to explain it, but you need to be able to do this without having it nicely underlined. You look for your direct object after the verb, then you replace it with a direct object pronoun, which comes then before your verb. But remember, your verb and subject is what agrees.
And sometimes you won't even, like on the test, Miss Mayo will put stuff like vocab on there that we might not know, but you just look at the ending for the most part and you'll be able to tell what the pronoun will be.
Always
Like
use your feminine, masculine endings.
Yeah, like on number 2.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what that is, and the me or la or lo or el, I'm sorry, in front of it doesn't really help you, what do you look at to see if it's a singular or plural word? Right. So it's a feminine and singular word. La. Good.
Okay, number 3.